So, big surprise 2020 is getting better yet again. A whole new influenza has been identified in China with the potential to create yet another pandemic. The host is pigs, and the virus can be spread to humans, although there is not mass spread yet. It has a high mutation rate, according to the scientists, which means basically if you played Plague Inc. on your smartphone or whatever, it can gain a lot of new tricks to get around and be successful at surviving. And the versions of the virus that are good at surviving will be the ones to duplicate and be able to spread further due to natural selection, of course. Now, this brings up a big issue with, I don't want to yell at capitalism too much, but it really is an issue with corporatism and what happens when farming becomes a disgusting pile of inhumane garbage to these animals. All of these pigs and all these animals in general, boxed in these tiny cages in these huge factories without any room to move. They're being genetically modified. They're being experimented on. When it comes to cows, they're literally being like impregnated so that milk could be produced from these cows, being slaughtered in really tight enclosed spaces. Things are not washed nearly close enough when it comes to meat factories, even in the United States. When it comes to where they slaughter animals in the United States, I covered a story a couple months ago where Donald Trump's administration removed every single meat regulation that we possibly could have had. And now it is so stripped down, we have no actual federal investigators going into food processing plants to make sure the food and the meat is coming through clean. Now the workers are doing that job. Very seldomly are we having actual qualified people checking meat in the United States. Then you look at China, which is complete unrestricted capitalism and all this corporatism combined with the state, obviously, but they are doing whatever they want to these animals without any violations, without any regulations at all. And this is causing an even bigger mess. So, what the moral of the story is, when you have capitalism taking control of something, when you have corporations that could process off something that is bad for humanity as a whole, you have to make sure you gain control of that as a people and make sure it doesn't blow up in your faces. When it comes to something like climate change, we keep on letting corporations manipulate us on climate change. Eventually, that will boil over, just like all these pandemics are right now. And if you look on our history, you can see when it comes to using lead in products, when it comes to using things like cigarettes or other type of drugs that they used to sell commercially. They said cocaine was good for you. They said cigarettes were recommended by doctors. They said lead had health benefits. Google lead healthy ads. Google when they used lead paint in children's toys. And all these corporations lied to us, hid the actual issues with this, and a bunch of kids got brain damage from using lead. A bunch of people died from smoking too much, and we still have that in our society today, and a bunch of other issues caused by unrestricted capitalism, because corporations will always act for the profit motive, and what is good for the profit motive is very seldomly good for the society as a whole. And you can't blame corporations for that. Corporations are amoral. They don't do good things. They don't do bad things. They do things that work in their best interest. That's why it's up to a government that should be owned by the people to regulate these companies, not only in America, but also in China. You say to China, we're not going to let you sell your product in our country, whether you're in the United States or somewhere in Europe or anywhere, Scandinavia, wherever you're coming from. You could say, we're not going to import your goods if you don't uphold our regulation standards. When it comes to human rights, when it comes to worker rights in general, when it comes to animal rights, America could be playing a role in that, using our position as a top economic and militarized superpower in the world to force good things instead of bad things. But of course, corporations control the entire world, so we're going to keep on having issues like this. If you keep on wondering why 2020 is getting worse, it's because people aren't in control. Pretty much every problem we dealt with this year so far, whether it's the Australian wildfires, whether it's the pandemic, the economic collapse, the reason it was so bad is because the people are not in control, so our government is not making decisions that are good for us. If they're not making decisions that are good for us, things will continue to go bad. And 2020 is going to keep on getting worse because we don't have control of our government. And right now, of course, we have two people running for the presidency who are beholden by special interest, which is absolutely awesome. So, yeah, make sure you're watching what kind of pork he ate because it's not getting checked.